They say Stonehenge is old, but what if I told you there's a temple even older than that, older than the pyramids, built by people we barely even understand? And it's just sitting quietly, on a tiny island right in the middle of the Mediterranean. We're headed to Malta, a place known for sun, beaches, and stunning sea views. But beneath the postcard, beauty lies something much older. Something that, honestly, rewrites what we thought we knew about ancient civilizations. Hidden on these islands are stone temples so massive, so mysterious, that scientists still argue about who built them. And why. These aren't just old ruins. These are sacred sites carved from limestone over 5,000 years ago. And they hold secrets that might change how we understand human history. Here's the real problem. We don't actually know who built Malta's temples. We're talking about megalithic structures built before the wheel, before metal tools, before written language. There are no records, no carvings of kings, no armies. Just massive stones precisely cut and placed in complex patterns. How did prehistoric people living on a remote island manage to create some of the world's oldest freestanding monuments? And why did their civilization vanish, leaving behind nothing but stone? Archaeologists have been digging for answers for over a century, but the deeper they go, the stranger things get. Let's break it down. To understand the mystery, we need to visit the temples themselves. First up is Gantia. The name literally means Giant's Tower in Maltese because locals once believed only giants could have moved stones that big. It's one of the oldest of all, dating back to around 3600 BCE. That's 1,000 years before the pyramids of Giza. From above, Gantia looks like two clover-shaped temples side by side. These weren't random piles of stone, they were carefully planned. Massive limestone slabs, some weighing over 50 tons, form curved walls with interior chambers, altars, and smooth walkways. The design shows complex planning, a central corridor, semicircular rooms, ventilation, light management, all from a people who had no written language. Even more puzzling, there's no quarry nearby big enough to explain how those stones got there. Some were dragged over 3 kilometers, possibly using round stone balls like giant ball bearings, but still, how? Next, we head south, to the cliffs above Malta's southwestern coast. Here you'll find Hagar Chim and Manajdra, two temples sitting just 500 meters apart, looking out over the Mediterranean. If Gantia was about size, these are about alignment. Hagar Chim, built between 3600 and 3200 BCE, is a jigsaw puzzle of enormous stones, some over 20 feet tall. Yet the layout seems spiritual. One chamber lights up with the sunrise on the summer solstice. Another is aligned with the equinox. Manajdra, just down the slope, is even more precise. Its central doorway frames the sun exactly on the solstice sunrise, like a prehistoric calendar. So whoever built this wasn't just stacking rocks, they understood astronomy, they tracked time, they built monuments to the heavens. Now for something truly strange. Deep beneath the town of Paola lies a structure unlike anything else, Hal Seflieni Hypogeum. This one isn't above ground. It's carved entirely underground, 3 levels deep, 11 meters below the surface, all by hand. It's not a cave, it's a temple, a burial site, a sanctuary, and it's spooky. The Hypogeum was discovered in 1902 by accident. Workers digging for a cistern broke into a hidden chamber and uncovered over 7,000 human skeletons. The deeper you go, the more eerie it gets. Curved halls, echo chambers, stone beds, red ochre paintings still cling to the walls. One room, the oracle chamber, produces an acoustic effect. If you speak in a certain tone, your voice reverberates through the entire structure. Some say it was used for rituals, others think it was a kind of sonic experiment. Either way, it shows a level of design beyond what we'd expect from a Stone Age culture. But who were these people? That's the million-dollar question. We call them the temple builders, but that's just a label. They left no texts, no names, no known descendants. All we have are the ruins, and some artifacts. We know they were farmers. They raised animals, planted crops, they used stone tools, but they also carved tiny figurines, like the famous Sleeping Lady statue found in the Hypogeum. Some of these statues show round, almost alien-like women, often in relaxed poses. Some are grotesquely obese, which has led to theories of a fertility cult or a Mother Earth goddess. But we don't even know if they were women, or gods, or metaphors. The real challenge is that everything we know comes from what wasn't left behind. There are no weapons, no signs of war, no fortifications. For over 1,000 years, this civilization was peaceful? That in itself is rare. Then, suddenly they vanished. By 2500 BCE, the temples stopped being used. New people, the Beaker culture, arrived later with bronze and pottery. But the temple builders were gone. Why? Nobody knows. Some say climate change, a severe drought that made the islands unlivable. Others point to resource exhaustion or disease. Still others hint at more mystical causes, that these were priestly societies that declined when their belief systems fell apart. Whatever the cause, they disappeared without a trace. Here's where it gets weird again. Some of the temples share features with structures found in Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, built even earlier. Circular designs, central pillars, animal carvings. Others say Malta's builders might have been connected to Sicily or even North Africa. There's no hard proof. But we know that seafaring in the Mediterranean existed even then. Did the temple builders come from somewhere else? Or did they evolve here on their own? One theory suggests Malta was a religious center, a pilgrimage island where people came to worship the sun and stars. The temples weren't houses, they were sacred places, visited for rituals and ceremonies. That could explain the careful planning, the alignments, the underground burials, but it doesn't explain the silence. Why didn't later cultures pick up where they left off? Even in the 21st century, Malta's megalithic sites are still revealing secrets. Archaeologists now use tools like ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR scans, and microscopic pollen analysis to dig deeper, without even picking up a shovel. At sites like Tasilg and Skorba, new layers of ancient occupation are being found beneath the ground we thought had already been excavated. Evidence of earlier huts, fire pits, even animal enclosures. All of this paints a picture of a complex society, not just building temples but living, farming, worshipping, and possibly trading. That's right, trading. Microscopic residue from obsidian tools, which is volcanic glass, was found at Maltese sites. But Malta doesn't have volcanoes. The nearest source? Lipari, a volcanic island north of Sicily. That means these people had boats, navigational skill, and connections beyond the island. So they weren't just isolated cave dwellers, they were part of a wider, Neolithic network, which really raises more questions. What ideas were they sharing? And why is there still no writing? One of the strangest things about Malta's temples is the recurring spiral motif. Curved carvings etched into the stone like cosmic fingerprints. You'll see spirals at Hagar Kim, spirals at Menasdra, spirals in the hypogeum. What did they mean? Some researchers believe the spirals represented eternity, cycles of life and death, or celestial motion, the sun and moon in rotation. Others think the spiral could be connected to psychedelic visions, especially since hallucinogenic plants may have been used in ritual. More recently, scientists noticed the temples may be laid out using golden ratios, circular arcs, and mathematical precision. Not perfect but close, suggesting these people had a symbolic worldview shaped by harmony, space, and light. Why does that matter? Because it tells us this wasn't just functional. This was spiritual architecture, geometry meant to align humans with something greater. Now let's talk about the stuff that gets people arguing in comment sections. Over the years, Malta's temples have attracted alternative theories, some rooted in myth, others in pure speculation. Let's start with giants. The name Giantesha literally comes from the belief that giants built it. In old Maltese folklore, a giantess carried the stones on her head and built the temple while feeding her baby. Clearly myth, but it reveals something else. Even the locals couldn't explain how the stones got there. Then there's the Atlantis theory. Some believe Malta is the last surviving peak of a lost continent. After all, it sits right in the middle of the Mediterranean. Could rising sea levels have swallowed a once great civilization, leaving only the high ground and a few temples as evidence? There's no proof of Atlantis, of course, but the theory survives because of the sheer oddness of these structures. They just don't fit with what we know. And yes, the alien theory exists too, mostly because of the hypogeum's oracle chamber, which has freaky acoustic effects. When researchers tested the frequency, they found it affected the brain's theta waves, the same waves connected to meditation and trance. Did the temple builders understand sound frequencies, or were they just lucky? Either way, people can't help but wonder, was there more to these temples than just rocks? Now let's step back. Whether it was ritual, sound, light, or stars, the temples all point to something bigger. These people were trying to connect with the unseen. No one builds underground echo chambers just for fun. No one aligns a temple with the summer solstice, unless the sky matters. The Maltese temples suggest that over 5,000 years ago, humans were already trying to understand their place in the universe. They were asking, where do we go when we die? Why do the stars move like that? How can we mark time, control fate, speak to the beyond? And they answered those questions with stone. Even though they had no cities, no armies, no writing, they had belief. They had imagination, and they left behind a map of the sacred. Today, Malta's temples are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. But they're also under threat, from weathering, tourism, and even rising sea levels. Temples like Megalithic are now sheltered under massive white domes to protect the limestone. Others, like the HistopiaYT, allow only a few visitors a day, because even breathing inside damages the structure over time. The irony? These places survived 5,000 years of storms, empires, and earthquakes, but now they're at risk from us. Still, Malta is leading the charge in preservation. New museums, digital scanning, international funding. The goal? To protect the mystery, even if we never solve it. This isn't just about Malta, it's about what kind of species we are. People like to think progress is linear, caves to farms to cities to Wi-Fi. But Malta's temples show that even before the so-called civilized world there were people asking big questions, building monuments, designing systems of thought. They didn't leave us their names, but they left us silence, structure, and stone. They're a reminder that history isn't just about who ruled what. It's also about who dared to build something sacred when nobody else even thought to try. The real twist? We almost lost all of it. In the early 1900s, the HistopiaYT was nearly destroyed by workers digging a well. It was saved by chance. Before UNESCO stepped in, many of the temples were left exposed, damaged, even looted. Some temples were completely erased by farming and construction. That's the scary part. If we'd been just a little slower to act, this entire chapter of human history could have vanished, forgotten before we even realized it mattered. What else might be buried out there, on Malta or elsewhere, that we haven't found yet? So here's what we know. Malta's megalithic temples are older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge. They were built by a mysterious prehistoric people with no written language. They understood astronomy, acoustics, geometry, and ritual, and then, they disappeared. Quietly, completely. Leaving behind some of the most advanced stone structures of the ancient world. And we still don't know how, or why. What's left are stone walls, and a question that won't go away. How much of our human story is still hidden beneath our feet? If you enjoy our journey, please like and subscribe to our channel, and if you like our content and want to support me, you are welcome to buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below.